Welcome to this edition of the Times Techies webinar. My name is Shilpa Fadnis and I have with me my colleague Sujit John. Both Sujit and I track IT, technology and startups. The two of us will moderate today's discussion. Our discussion today is on robotics and careers in robotics. The New World Robotics 2020 Industrial Robots report shows a record of 2.7 million industrial robots operating in factories around the world, which is an increase of 12% over last year. Robots are being used in a variety of areas today. The field is still quite nascent in India, but it is important that we build our capabilities in this space because robots will soon become omnipresent everywhere. To discuss robotics and how to become a good robotics engineer, we have with us two very distinguished guests. We have with us Balaji Viswanathan. Balaji is the CEO of Invento Robotics. Their Robo Mitra was inaugurated by Prime Minister Narendra Modi at the Global Entrepreneurship Summit held in Hyderabad in 2017. Balaji started his career as a software engineer at Microsoft and worked with many other leading companies in the US. He has a master's degree in computer science from the University of Maryland and MBA from Babson College. He is one of the most followed authors in the world on Quora. Welcome, Balaji.
Hi. Hi, guys.
We have with us Aakash Sinha. Aakash is the founder and CEO of Omnipresent Robotics. He's been featured in MIT's list of top innovators under 35. He's also been featured in Enterprise Asia as Young Entrepreneur of the Year 2012. He was a gold medalist at the Lockheed Martin India Innovation Growth Program in 2013. He has worked in top robotic companies globally, including Lockheed Martin and iRobocop for over 10 years, where he won multiple awards. Aakash has a master's in computer science and robotics from Carnegie Mellon University. Welcome, Aakash.
Thank you. Delighted to be here.
Thank you, Aakash. For those who are viewing this, can send in questions through the comment box. We will put them to Balaji and Aakash. So over to you, Aakash and Balaji. If you can help us understand what are some of the recent developments in the robotics space?
In what order you want to go? Is it going to be Aakash first or me?
Okay. Well, I mean, you did.
Yeah.
You can go, Balaji.
Yeah.
Okay, Balaji, go.
Thanks, Aakash. Let me share my screen. This COVID time has especially accelerated the adoption of robots, especially in service sector kind of things. Over the last 1 year, we have been increasingly focused on healthcare, and since February, that got quite accelerated. So interestingly, just before the COVID hit, we were expanding in China. So we were setting up our office in Jiangsu in China. So I was to go there and open it in second week of Jan. And then so they said, like, my partners over there said, like, that there is some virus going on and you delay the thing, and that was in second week of January. So we are in the end of this thing, and the same virus is still going on, and crazy part. But they gave a good heads up on what is going on. So by mid-Jan, actually, we got a very good picture of what the virus was doing. So we had time to redo a lot of the strategy. And so by end of January, we decided, like, we have to focus our robotic work and healthcare, because that's going to become the big thing in China. But by February, it was, rather than becoming a big thing in China, it started becoming a big thing in India. So and globally across our entire industry, we have been seeing a huge progress that is happening both on the service robot space, as well as in industrial robots, like Boston Dynamics with their Spot robot. They have been quite scaling up. They sold over 400 units this last year, and but recently got sold to Hyundai to build a multi-billion-dollar robotics company. And there is just a lot of acceleration that has been happening in the past 2 years, and this 8 months has been one of the best times for robotics companies around the world. Let me share my screen. So in our thing, we have been making a much more pitch into the healthcare segment. We have been building these robots for helping with a lot of mundane tasks. So it is automating the task of a medical assistant in many of the hospitals and enables far better data collection and so on. over the last few years, we have designed and manufactured these robots of different types. And these are all completely designed and manufactured in India. From scratch, our team starts building this thing and then builds the prototypes in 3D printing, and then takes it through our in-house manufacturing process but to build the mold. And then we bring in our vendors to actually get them into production. What we see is that in India, we can do a fairly high-end manufacturing once we push far enough, and we can also have a far better cost advantage even compared to China. So before COVID hit, I used to visit China every 3 months, and so many entrepreneurs over there, they were talking to me about setting up their manufacturing extensions in India, because China was increasingly becoming quite costly to operate, especially for manufacturing. And this is a good time for India to actually enter into and build a range of manufacturing facilities. But unfortunately, mostly in India, we have a strong impediment to manufacturing that is happening, especially in new and high-end manufacturing. So that's something we want to partly address. So for those of you guys who are new young budding entrepreneurs out there, I would say manufacturing is not a bad thing to take in. So you guys can take up a huge number of different areas within the robotics itself. Robotics, it's going to be far bigger than the computing industry that came in the 70s and 80s. And computing industry created over 50 companies which are over $100 billion of market cap. And robotics can create even more, because it can automate in a lot more segments. And especially if you want to get your hands dirty with designing and manufacturing these robots, there is a huge scope out to create the equivalents of Compaq, Dell, HP, Apple equivalents in India. So and this manufacturing revolution, the manufacturing 4.0, what is called industry 4.0, this can create a whole range of new jobs, high-paying jobs, and jobs that are far more broader than just the IT software type. So I want to get you guys thinking about this thing. You guys can do far better than what we have done, because we had to fight with many of the things that did not exist. But now that many of our suppliers now understand how do we build quality for the global market, you guys can, by the time you guys graduate and come in, you will be able to build far higher quality robots. And then we can make a really big mark on the global scale. So do not just restrict your thing to just software, IT, and computer science. So computer science, again, I'm a computer science student myself, and I see computing as a way that powers all these very intelligent items together. And our robots, we have been engaging with top global leaders around the world, like whether it is Modi and Ivanka, or the brother of Charles, and then multiple global leaders as well as Indian leaders have been talking about our robots. And we are bringing this quite a bit of automation onto the healthcare this thing, because healthcare is the world's largest industry. And this is really the big problem in healthcare is one is first is access, second is cost, and both of them are quite related. So if we can reduce the doctor's time taken per consultation by 30%, what would it do is it will provide far more access to the high-end care, and it will also reduce the cost substantially. So that's why we are looking at more and more onto the healthcare space. The post-COVID healthcare is going to be a very, very interesting, very much prone for new revolutions happening. So it's going to be an interesting space over the next 2 years. And we have been building these smart robots and putting them in top hospitals, and people love to hug these robots and dress them up in various ways. It's so fun, how people imagine these robots to be. So originally our robots, we built it for as a unisex, this thing like Mitra. By design, the name was to be a unisex thing. And then a whole bunch of talk show and radio shows were asking you have to pick is it a male or a female? At some point, okay, is it a male? So then why there is no female robot? And then, okay, then we created a female robot, and there was a very scathing article we got in one of the popular media that said like, so female robots are in these locations and male robots are in these locations. And we didn't decide, our customers decide what robots to put in where. And these are just machines, like, we gave them color just for fun. But then like, there were some dicey articles that came out, and so we just made it this thing. Both of them are going to have same functionality, same sort of features, and can be used in the same locations. But people, like, see them literally like humans, for good and bad reasons. And so we have been like, these robots have been helping doctors save time and so on, and then increasing patients' life. So but the big part is what we have done, and what we see the future is made in India for the world. So we have always been like, when it comes to Make in India, it is sometimes we think of Make in India as something like making something cheap in India so that we can address local markets, or Make in India so that you put enough barriers for the foreign companies to come in, and then just take in so it's an old school socialism kind of thing. But Make in India need not be like, being a very protective, restrictive thing. You can make in India for the world. So at this point, we are exporting these robots to multiple countries, including US, Australia, and Singapore. These are all well-developed markets, and we compete with the local companies over there, not on price, but on quality, and win high-end orders in these locations. So it was a quite hard time initially, because in fact, even our customs had a problem when we first exported, because what are you guys exporting? Like, so there was they tagged for a lot of fishy thing, because people do not export robots out of India. Is there something saying? And then I eventually got our commerce minister involved in that thing, and then once I escalated the matter, things got settled a bit. But so now we have got the supply chain going to export to multiple countries, but we had a lot of initial trouble. But this is what, like, the world is also looking. World is also looking as one is in India could really look into two key strengths that we have. The first strength is we are not China. So world is looking at an alternative to China. And as you guys grow up in your career looking for opportunities, the big strength you have is you're not China, and so there is far more trust that the West places in India, and we can build as good or even better products than China, and at even more competitive pricing. And so on. So that is a first big thing. So world needs an alternative to China's manufacturing. And the second thing, and even more important thing, is we have a huge software power in this thing. So we can really marry the strength that we have built in software and services segment, and then marry that with the hardware. So these are software enabled hardware, smarter hardware. So that also makes it harder to copy, harder to replicate. And these would give us a huge advantage and a leg up over Vietnam or Bangladesh and so on. So we can create a particular niche in the global market. So we just got started. In the last 8 months only, we have been exporting outside, and we see a huge market coming out. And globally, India can be exporting $1 trillion or more of high-end goods, and just that we need enough entrepreneurs to come out and start businesses in this. So thinking beyond just e-commerce and delivery services, if you do that, then there's whole world out there. And I'll show you some of the videos of these robots. So in the left, the robot is like interacting in an office environment. And in the rightmost, the robot, we have an integration with Kone elevators. We are among the first robotics companies to can call elevator and then make it go to a particular floor, and it can also enter the elevators and so on. In the middle, we are these robots are collaborating in a high-end hotel environment. And these robots, these do a full concierge services. So they move around, interact, and they can also do coordination among themselves. so that, like, if they are getting close enough, who's going to get the right of way, and so on. So we have built a lot of we have done a lot of work on autonomous navigation algorithms. This is one of the key strengths. And with the autonomous navigation technology, we can actually build a range of new things in the future too. I'll show you a couple of more things from the non-humanoid world. So this is our robot in a disinfection duty. So this link, if you guys look at it, there are like dozens of videos in this link. I'll probably send it to the Times of India group and they can put it on if needed. So here you can see a whole bunch of other robots that we have created. In this, the robot is using the same navigation technology as the Mitra, but here it is going around around a warehouse and then disinfecting that entire environment. So once you sort out mobility, a whole bunch of use cases can be created around it. And there are also a bunch of other robots, for instance, in a retail environment kind of things and so on. So I don't want to go too deeper into each of the use cases, but just want to impress upon you guys is the use cases for robots is even more broader than computers. And if computing industry can create $1 trillion companies, and so can robotics. So this should inspire you guys to get into a career in robotics. And then again, we have been lucky to get good coverage in global media, including the media which usually do not talk as well about India. So my friends were joking, this is after a long time Guardian said something positive about India. So same thing with CNN, and Forbes did a good coverage, and US News and so on. So because the world is also looking at India filling in the gap that China is leaving. So India can grow up into a huge manufacturing power. India can become a high-end supplier of goods. So we are a country that has historically built very high-end things. Our temples are of the highest class. We built some of the highest end steels in the long past. We built the world's one of the best drainage systems in the Indus Valley civilization. So and we have built some of the even today we dominate the high-end diamond cutting business, jewelry business, and so on. So Indians in different categories over the thousands of years, we have been able to build high-end products. This is not something like a very new. And we in textiles, if you look at 300 years ago, who made the best textiles? It was India. So we have it in our DNA to make really high-end products. And now if we marry that DNA with our recent 30-40 years of our software development, we can create something amazingly cool for the world. Let's not be very defensive and then just restrict ourselves to Indian market. The world is out there, and world is looking at these solutions, and we can really take in the world. That's what I want you guys to look at. So this painting is half built. Let us come and you guys can paint the future. We can build amazing stuff. If 10% of you guys start pursuing a career in robotics, drones, and so on, and start manufacturing, start building this for the global market, we could be creating a whole number of new industries, new companies, and millions of new jobs. And that is going to be the foundation of new India. If we have to become a developed nation, we have to master manufacturing. There is no country in the world that has become developed without mastering manufacturing. Even tiny countries like Singapore, which is as much populated as 3-4 suburbs in Mumbai. Even they have to focus a lot on manufacturing to make sure there is enough jobs for everyone. And for a country that is 150 times larger than Singapore, we have to be looking at these manufacturing opportunities, and these manufacturing opportunities will create the new India. And that's what I want you guys to join in that project. Thank you.
Thank you, Balaji. Aakash, would you like to share your thoughts?
Thanks a lot, Balaji. Very enlightening, inspiring talk, not just for the students, but I think also for fellow entrepreneurs. And, I think one of the great things that Balaji brought out was that, see, a lot of people might be getting worried that, jobs will slow down and then, this traditional IT industry slowing down and all that. But, there's a lot of stuff that you might be missing out just knowing that there are new industries that are coming up. For example, robotics. As he pointed out, just like there are unicorns in software industry, we won't be surprised if in next 10 years there are a few unicorns here, maybe more than a few, definitely. And another thing that I really agree with Balaji is that a lot of our time, although we are techies, me, Balaji, I suppose our core teams, but a lot of our time has gone in trying to create an ecosystem, in trying to move regulations, in trying to set up, a chain, a supply chain, in trying to set up norms, how the business would be done. Now, all that struggle is not something that, the entrepreneurs who are coming will have to do. So anyway, thanks a lot. And, hopefully we can discuss a little more as we chat. Meanwhile, let me briefly tell about what Omnipresent has been doing. And so, we started building robots. And we did quite a few different types of, we picked up a problem that we thought would have a mass impact, and we built a solution around it. Although none of them really scaled initially, but we did some quite brilliant work in terms of the problems that are out there. So, for example, river cleaning. So we built a robot that could go in the rivers, pick up trash, come back, do it autonomously, and we got some good recognition with it, including this, MIT TR35 and many other places. And then, we also built a bomb disposal robot, and then followed it up with the Chandrayaan mission. Actually, so we've been part of Chandrayaan 1, 2, and also now Chandrayaan 3. But all of this hasn't really been our main business as of now. So we also started building what we used to call flying robots, which are drones. And it kind of started more like a side project, because when we were building this river cleaning robot, we thought we'll also need a drone to guide the robot. So we said, okay, we'll build that. But it just, maybe it's a matter of timing or whatever it is. But we saw that in last 2 to 3 years, 90% of our business is just coming through drones. So, I guess it's about timing. I suppose drone industry is going through this time where it's scaling up. Now, I can proudly say that we've deployed our drones in almost every state in India. Some of them have been exported as well. And then, multiple industries, including oil refineries, road construction, highway building. In fact, just to give you an example, we built this, so when you're planning a new city like Amaravati, it's being planned as a new city. The entire city was mapped by us, almost 50,000, sorry, almost, about 2 lakh, 2 lakh acres. So about that kind of area was something that we mapped out and made it into one single image, which you could zoom in into like every little centimeter from the drones. So, there are multiple things that that can be done, but, just to inspire you with some examples, I'm going to show you a little video of what some of these robots are doing, and I'm sure you guys will then throw in with some ideas. So just give me a second and I'll screen share. Okay. So first up, I'm just going to talk a little bit about Chandrayaan mission and what we were doing there, because this is something that I think a lot of you will find interesting. Okay. Hope you can see the slideshow.
Yeah.
So we've planned like 3 Chandrayaan mission. 2 of them have already gone there. And a lot of people don't know, but Chandrayaan mission, we've been going to moon, including NASA, Europe, China, and there have been missions to moon for almost last 50 years. But it was our mission that first found water on moon. Huh? So it's these inspiring stories, but a lot of people may not know about that. And then the next mission, Chandrayaan 2 mission, we also sent a lander. And the Chandrayaan 2 went fine 95% of the mission, but last 5% we had a little setback. But in Chandrayaan 3 again, we are going to send a probe to the same place, lunar South Pole, which will make India first country to visit there. So the thing with Chandrayaan 2 was that we worked on this is a little bit about what really went wrong, but just to make this story short, is that there's no GPS on moon, and so it's very difficult to find your way where exactly you are going to land. And Balaji has probably solved some of these autonomous navigation problems without GPS, but here there's very little even reference point. The moon surface doesn't have that many features that you can quickly localize yourself, and also you're going really fast. Actually, it'll be good to get some input from you, Balaji, later on this. But anyways, there was slight errors in how we estimated how far the moon surface would be or at what angle we'd be, and that kind of really multiplied into bigger errors. But Chandrayaan 3, there's a new technology called flash LiDAR, which we are likely to use, and I think that that gives you a 3D photograph. So there's very little chance of error there. So hopefully this time we'll go there. But on our part on this mission, there was a rover, so a robot that was supposed to go out, land on the moon, and then navigate, find its way out. Now the problem here was that it had just 2 cameras, like a pair of eyes, and it had to find its way from that. And the other problem is that the moon doesn't have many features, so it had to generate 3D, and also it had to generate 3D just from one pair of images, because just to get one pair of image and download it from moon, it takes about 10 minutes. So it's not exactly your 100 Mbps net connection that we can have Zoom calls. So there are various challenges when you get into a situation like this. So this is a simulation of moon surface that we were doing at one of the ISRO facilities, and there's you can see what the left sensor sees, what the right sensor sees, or left or right camera. See, these images are slightly different from each other, and then we have to combine them and generate into one 3D. So that's what we did, and then the idea was that we'll have a complete simulation of what the rover sees on the moon, and then operate it out from here. So I'll show you a little bit of that simulation. Just a second, I'm going to share another screen. All right. So hopefully you can see this.
Yeah.
Just 1 second. So this is the rover, and you can see I can kind of even drive it in simulation. Obviously, in the real time, we would have to sort of send these commands out there. Mm-hmm. And the other thing we could do was that, see, we can point on any specific point and click it, and it will tell you the X, Y, Z coordinates of that point. So for example, if you look at this little rock, we can see its height. And we can see that, okay, the height is not much where we have clicked, it's only 0.18. So, it's something maybe the rover can traverse. And similarly, we can see, if we have to navigate from one point to another point, what is the angle between those points? What's the height? What's the distance? What is the slope we are looking at? And then, we could also see it in like different views from side on. So, even though we would not have been able to see what's happening real time on moon, we would have created an actual simulation of the entire moon surface in 3D. And again, this is a kind of technology we can do in India. So for example, when NASA sends out these missions, typically, they may have multiple cameras, lots of processing power, all sent out there. So what would have happened was that, you could do a lot of processing. But here we are sending a really cost-effective mission, but we can save that, money in hardware by being smarter in software. And so, this is what we were doing. And, it's just an example of what, some of the things you budding entrepreneurs and people who are looking at robotics can do. So anyway, let me just exit out of this. And I'm going to show a little bit of what we've been doing with drones. So I'm going to play a little video that kind of captures, a variety of things that we've been doing with drones. So this is, for an oil pipeline company, and, the pipeline is buried under the ground. And you see this red little line, we are actually overlaying it using AI and figuring out where exactly the pipeline is going. And then on each of these points, we can also make out if there is something on the way. So if an electric pole comes on the way, or if a person comes on the way, we can identify them using AI. So it's possible that due to bandwidth, the video may not be coming that sharp here, but you can see it. I'm just gonna forward it a little more. And then similarly, you can do other things like we can
seeing the video. I'm not seeing the video, I think.
Oh, you can't see the video?
No, it's just on your screen. Isn't it, Shilpa?
Gotcha. Can you see it now?
No, Aakash.
All right, well, let me just try this share once again. This time I'm just going to share the entire screen. So
I'm able to just see your screen. Yes.
Okay, now you should be able to see. Okay.
Yes.
All right. So I was giving an example of an underground oil pipeline. We are flying over it, and then this red line shows you where the pipeline is. And if there is something on the way, we can also track that. So if there's a haystack on the way, we'll identify and we'll tag it. And then, you can do these activities in the night as well. And in night, we can identify people, we can track them, we can identify vehicle, identify the speed at which it's coming. So it's just these, and this is all being done in like complete darkness. So it's just the kind of thing that, suppose there's a high security oil refinery, which is, they're one of very valuable assets of any country. So to safeguard that, you can use this mix of AI and drones. Similarly here, we are seeing if there's any construction activity that's going on above the pipeline. So here we can identify the vehicle, type of vehicle, where it's going, and so forth. And, so this is the kind of report that, somebody, let's say if you were running an oil pipeline plant or an oil and oil refinery, these are the kind of things you want. The key aspect to remember is that, people are really looking for a lot of automation here. So, if you just give them video captured by drone, it's not of that much use. But if you mix a little bit of AI, if you can identify, generate a report, and, tell them what's going on, what's happening, those are the kind of things that, people would really want to value. So for example, in this video here, we are looking at an unauthorized vehicle entering this area, and we are tracking just the unauthorized vehicle and not the others. The other vehicles have been sort of marked or trained by our algorithm. So this one is an unauthorized vehicle, we know, because others have been sort of trained. All of the other vehicles were of the same color. So this is just showing you some of the features. We've built in a lot of safety on our drones. In fact, it's, we call it virtually crash-proof drones. And this is we going inside an oil tank. This is a floating roof oil tank. We can actually go inside it, see if there's been any corrosion on the tank. We can inspect these, flares and towers and look at corrosion. We can, now this refinery, flare is burning at 700 degrees, but we can zoom it from far and we can look at, if there's any damage. Also, we can generate an AI report of the same. So you can get an AI report that tells you there's a burner damaged over there and so forth. And then there's, similarly on overhead pipelines, then there are solar plants where, also we can fly inside a plant. So a complete indoor, without any GPS. Also, you can do things like volume calculation, area, mapping, kind of geo surveys, and then put them on that. This is just a demonstration of car tracking and wildlife tracking, fire tracking. So one of the things that I noticed was that the robots and drones, if I could just combine them, there's a lot of value added as soon as you can get them to some automation which can bring some useful insights for the clients. So for example, all these things the clients were doing earlier also, but they were literally climbing up this 200-foot or 500-foot flare and then trying to look at what's going on, And those are the kind of things that if you put a little bit of AI, suddenly there's a lot of value created. So I think some of you who might be, looking at building these things, one of the pieces of our learning is just that try to see what would be the kind of insights that would help people. I'll also show a little demonstration of a river cleaning robot. Let's just skip through. This was on US News, some US channel. But this is showing you the robot. It could go in, and then there was a drone assisting it. But the robot could go in the river and pick stuff from it. And the drone was guiding it using some vision. Using computer vision, it was guiding it. So this was actually one of our first drones. And, let's just see. Okay, all right. This is showing you again in action. So we could pick a variety of debris over there. And, this was kind of covered quite a bit in media. And, there's a very good enthusiastic team. There's of a lot of youngsters, a lot of you folks who might be watching. And, if you look at rivers, they are a real issue that, we need to solve over here in India. So again, I'm hoping that a lot of you can look at, one of the good things to just get inspired is look at India. There are so many things broken that no matter in what direction you look, there's a thing to fix. And to fix it, you can use AI or robots because they can do a lot of things that humans may not be able to do. Or as I said, in coming times you will see a robot will be able to do almost everything, probably better than a human being can do.
Yeah.
So another little quick demonstration. We built a little driverless car for something called Mahindra Driverless Car Challenge. So, and this is completely done in India. So you can see there's, a lot of great technology happening in India. We're able to, sort of drive it on roads at slow speeds. Right now, we've gone up to like 20 kilometers an hour. Perhaps if we go a little faster, maybe you will see it at all right. So this is going around 12, 15. And then we can also track obstacles as we go around. The car. So again, it's one of the technologies that as it comes up will become very useful. This is a demonstration of what the car is actually seeing. Now, this is not done at 15 kilometers. This is more for the training part. But our algorithms are able to detect different types of vehicles, different types of, whether it's a person or a vehicle, and then track it. And so, but, theoretically, we could drive at this speed, but we haven't really, driven it on this. There's a small initiative we've been doing for students. This is about building a robot, quickly building a robot. One of the things we noticed was that just building a robot itself was actually quite a cumbersome task. So if you're a techie, maybe you will persevere and you will do it. But a lot of times building the robot was only about trying to figure out which connection was loose and why this wire came out and all that. And maybe there's not enough current coming. And so we said, let's fix all that. And we built our own robotics board in the lab here. And we tested it on kids as young as, these are a little older kids, but we've tested it on kids as young as 7, 8-year-olds. And we gave them a little GUI on which they could implement logic. And most kids were able to, build a robot in like about half an hour or so. So again, this is another interesting area where, you can look at, which is just robotics education, because I feel there is, most of our people, I'm sure, maybe Balaji has I don't know if he's had a similar experience, but we find difficult to hire people with skill sets. We don't see enough of that being taught in our academia. So, we end up training most of our people. Huh? So when they join, maybe they are a smart software or a mechanical or a electronics engineer, but we sort of help them out so that they come up to speed. So anyway, I'm just gonna stop sharing right now.
A lot of questions coming in.
Oh, well, yeah. I'll just quickly summarize, and then we can take up questions and debate. But one of the things why I just wanted to show all this, a lot of times you might feel, oh, why is Omnipresent just everywhere? Why they are, just like our name, why are we doing so many things? But when we look at it, at core of it, I would say 60-70% of our robotics stack actually remains the same. It's literally the same autopilot that's driving the boat, it's driving the car, it's driving the drone. Of course, on surface, things are changing, but internally, it's about making an intelligent machine. So it's not that much of a difference. And that's something you can, a lot of youngsters can also look at. Just like there is a company like, let's say, Infosys that builds software for hospitals, airlines, and just about any kind of client. Similarly, there is a room for robotics company that can actually build robots for a variety of problems. It's a little difficult in our times because we spend a lot of time just fighting with the ecosystem. But I'm sure when people who are coming in next, they have a great opportunity to do that. Yeah. All right. Thanks a lot.
Okay, thanks a lot. Very fascinating stuff. Shilpa, there are questions. I've already got some here.
I will. So you want to start, Sujit?
Okay. This one is from, I had some questions of my own, but since there are audience questions, let me start with that. It's from Manoj Kamlakar. Please tell us about various R&D opportunities in robotics and how to get into these roles. Who wants to take that? Aakash, you're muted. Aakash, you're muted. Aakash, you're muted.
All right. Okay. Well, so as I was mentioning, that one of the things I found that, and this, when I talk with even some of other robotics and drone companies, is that there are jobs we are not finding people who are suitable for it. Okay. So it's a little different from, let's say, maybe some of other industries where jobs themselves are slowing down. But I think in robotics and drones, jobs are growing. It's difficult to find the kind of people who have experience in that. So I think one of the good ways is definitely if you can take up a project while you're in college, build something on your own. There are a lot of hobby websites that you can go. There's a website called DIY Drones, and I'm sure there's similar stuff that you can find. Try to do something on your own group, and then contact one of us and say you're excited about this. If you'd like to get an internship role here. And a lot of our hires have been interns who then got hired into full-time. Because we saw that, they were driven in this. And then during the internship, they also got a bit of training and they started delivering. So I think that's one way.
How many interns do you take? Because that's another question that I have. Any internship opportunities from Soumya? Any internship
number, we can take, I'm sure we can, I think every season, and by season, I mean like, either summer or winter break time. I think every season we can take at least a dozen.
Yeah. Okay.
So there are a fair number of opportunities available there. Some of the key roles we also look at is, but we don't expect. But one of the things is that if you are at least good at one of the, let's say, either programming or computer vision or machine learning, or even good at mechanical design or electronics or PCB design, those kind of things. If you're good at, so I think one of the good things is that when you're in college, if you can become really good at least one skill, that's something I would really advise. So when you come to us or any other company, just tell us that you are really good at this part. So we know, okay, you can do something over here. And then, as I said, I think there's a lot of onus also on our education to make sure that we can deliver this. So I'm also adjunct faculty at Shivnada University, and actually I teach robotics there. And a lot of students that I teach also get interned there and then hired with us. But I hope this gets better than this, because this is really not a scalable way to do things. So I do think there's a lot of things that if universities interact with companies like us, we could advise them, and I think that's also part of it. So I would say, students, do ask your universities as well to get in touch with us and ask us, what are the things that they should groom you into, isn't it? Anyways, your inputs.
Balaji, a lot of students asking questions. I mean, I have yet another one from Mehul Lakhanpal. How can a working professional, a web developer, get into robotics? Any good resources to get started? What tech stack do you use to build robots?
So we have three separate technology subsystems within the robot. So the first subsystem is the robot's embedded system operation. So that's what manages all the wheels, the hands, the fingers, the eyes, and so on, and all the sensors. So there's a whole embedded systems, which is typically done in C++. And then we also support an open source a platform called ROS, Robot Operating System, which is now one of the industry standards. So that is the one that is managing all the embedded systems part, over which we have built our navigation algorithms and so on that. So that is the first subsystem, which is the embedded subsystem of this. The second subsystem of this is the whole user interaction subsystem, which is currently done on iOS. So there is we built a custom iOS app, which is a very intensive app, which does all the speech to text convert, and then it also does the computer vision portions of it, and then the entire conversation flow, everything is managed on the iOS. So that is a second presentation layer. And then the third part of it, a lot of the training algorithms as well as the data collection and so on happens in the backend, which is a Python Django based system. So it is like three subsystems, three parallel subsystems in that sense. And like one need not do all the three. In our case, we did all the three. But then let's say you are a web developer, you could be building soft bots, or you could be building things like chatbots. So right now, chatbots, there are a lot of companies have built it, but still they are like very very rudimentary, early stage. So we call it caveman era of like conversation. Very very very. So there is a lot to build on that side. And then also in terms of fleet management and engagement and interaction. So how do you manage different robots together? So for instance, we partner with a company called Freedom Robotics, which is a Bay Area based company. So what they do is they help us manage our fleet of robots on the web. So on the web, we can see what is the map that the robot has created, where the different robots are. So these kind of that is a sort of a web equivalent of the robotics side. I said there is going to be whole range of companies and this thing that is going to be involved in it. So for web developer, it could be fleet management, it could be the backend, the conversation engine types and so on. So they could get in.
How much of your robot is software? How much is hardware? I mean, can you put a percentage to it?
So I would say 60% is software, 40% is hardware.
Yeah. Aakash, similar for you? Aakash, you're muted, huh? Aakash, you're muted. Why is Aakash not able to hear us? Aakash?
Sorry. Well, yeah, I agree with Balaji. And actually, as time progresses, you will see that more and more innovation will happen on the software
side. Okay.
See, the hardware is something that slowly it will stabilize to a level. Software, there's still a lot to be done. So for example, look, we can build robots that look like human, maybe even walk like humans. Okay, maybe walking is a little complex, but still, you've seen some of those Boston Dynamic robots, and they walk like a human, and some of them are like dogs and animals and so forth. But still, there is a lot we have to do in terms of trying to catch up with human brain. So for example, we still don't have a robot that can maybe read a book and pass your exam. But those things will happen, they will happen, and it's a matter of time. So as I said, as time progresses, we'll see a lot more happening on the software side. And the smarter we get in software, as I said, it will be, lesser is the work we have to do in hardware. So software is definitely the way forward, but it's important to understand how this software mixes with the hardware. So for example, so you can, as Balaji was saying, you can build these chatbots, and chatbots are, they're essentially like an AI robot that doesn't move. But then how it interacts with the hardware, because, once you come in the real world and you're moving in the real world, then there's a lot of, it's no longer a simulation world, because, in the real world, everything is uncertain. And then how you are combining all those uncertainties to take a decision, I'm sure Balaji's done a lot of that kind of navigation related work. And that is something, so yes, software definitely is going to be major chunk. Yeah.
Okay. Shilpa, questions?
We have some questions. This is from Samshwi. How can students in electrical and electronics engineering get into robotics? And what is the importance of coding for electronics engineers working in robotics?
Okay, partly answered, but anyway, Balaji, you want to?
Okay, so one sort of like the first part of the generic answer I would give is, so bachelor's in engineering is just a starting point on this thing. So being a bachelor's in electronics engineering and so on, it does not tie you into one thing. Just say bachelor's is just a starting first step into your long career path. So the primary thing is you are an engineer, and engineering is a lot about how do we save time, how do we reduce costs, and how do we improve quality. That's all engineering is all about. Whether we are talking about mechanical engineering or electronics or chemical engineering or computer science, it's all an optimization problem. How do we do something better, cheaper? So if you come with that engineering mindset, so engineering is a mindset across all engineering discipline. There's one mindset. That mindset of optimization. If you come up with it, there's a huge amount of thing to be done in robotics with that. That's the first part of it. It's more on the mindset and not as much related to which specific courses. Although we use many of the courses, but many of these things you will also be learning on the go. So do not restrict yourself to one particular discipline. Get with the mindset, understand the math. So especially when you're going to do machine learning. So machine learning is a nicer way to say statistics and linear algebra. And so it's all old school mathematics that is spun up in a lot of nicer ways. So if you, as an engineer, you would have become an engineer because you studied linear algebra, calculus, and then statistics, and hopefully you were passionate about it. So that's what you are going to bring in. And specifically, that's for any engineering discipline, I would say. Specifically for electronics and electrical, there's a whole range of things in terms of sensor design, sensor integration that has to happen. So in the future robots that we see, there's a range of things you have to do, manipulate on the physical world. This is something that we are very interested. So not just moving around, how do we turn a knob? How do we pull something? How do we lift something? How do we move something? So there's a lot of manipulation on the physical world, which will involve a range of new sensor integrations and operation. And some of them could be on sensor building itself. For instance, LiDAR was a very, very esoteric thing about 8-9 years ago. Now this year there have been multiple IPOs which are of companies that have just done LiDARs. So you can make your sensors so good in quality that all of the robotics companies use. That is again, as an electronics and electrical engineer do. Or you can find out how do I interface that LiDAR or that sensor, the depth sensing camera, or any of the thousands of sensors available. How do I interface well with the robots? Using embedded systems coding and so on. So these are two very, very broader disciplines, I would say. Aakash probably can add.
Oh, I think you've said pretty much what I wanted to add, said there, but maybe just one little quick addition was that, the fact that you brought about sensors, I think that's definitely one big growth area happening. So there's one company I know, it's set up by one of my friends. He just builds a night vision camera, and he's probably the only non-night sensor building company in India. I think his turnover has already crossed 100 crores.
Tonbo, right?
Yeah, Tonbo, you're right. Yeah. So he was 1 year senior to me at Carnegie Mellon, the founder there. So anyway, so it just reminded me of this example that, if you're coming from electronics background, we need sensors, we need autopilots, we need lots of things to be made here in India. And, so for example, some of the sensors are the things that drive up all the cost. So yeah, that's one area to focus for embedded people or electronics.
We cover a lot more of these companies, like whether it's Tonbo, IdeaForge, and so there are so many companies that have done good stuff in India. But most of the students would be unaware of many of these companies. So we will hear about the Swiggies and the Udans and so on, but very few times, as probably media guys, you guys should also take up saying how do we give the right coverage so that people get inspired by the right set of companies.
Yeah,
absolutely, Balaji.
Shilpa, questions more?
Yeah, this question is from Manoj. From what we could see from Balaji and Aakash's presentations, the robots and you seem to be largely in the industrial space or research sectors. How far are we to a day when household robots become commonplace?
So, for instance, the robotic vacuum cleaners, which is sort of the lowest hanging fruit, that's already fairly commonplace in the US. And in India too, it is becoming more and more common. At least the vacuum cleaner side of things. In terms of the robots to do service, this thing, especially for senior citizen, this is something, one of my long-term objectives and vision. How do we enable robots for senior care at home? We are probably like 3-4 years away from that. So part of this thing, that in fact, there's a lot of projects going on in Europe. The European Union is funding plenty of this project, same thing in Japan. So the first problem is on user adoption. So people getting open to the idea of like things moving around and engaging. And so that is something, a lot of it is a user experience and user adoption problem. The second is sort of our environments, indoor environments can be very cluttered and it can have like ramps or it can have, so how do we make it fairly flatter? So one area that happened on the disability, this thing is, we are now making our environments more disabled friendly. So that means wheelchairs can go in and out, and that also will enable robots, because if wheelchairs can go, then robots can also go. And so a lot of the progress that is happening on the accessibility front, that will also enable robots to come in. So that is the second aspect. The third aspect is on the cost. So there is any system starts very, very expensive. So 30 years ago, if you were like inquiring the cost of a computer, that was like more expensive than a car at that time. And then now you are holding a really powerful computer in your hand, and that doesn't cost like over 10,000 rupees. So it is the economies of scale will drive down the price. So we are probably 3-4 years from now where the prices will become affordable for at least for a middle class or upper middle class user. And then probably within this decade, I hope to see in this thing, which is far more broader, So these 3 points drive it.
Yeah, so just to add to that, one of my earlier robotics, before I started this, I used to work for this company called iRobot in US. And they used to build one of these vacuum cleaners called Roomba. And when I was there, we had already sold like 3 million. And I think by now they probably sold like 10 million of them worldwide. I think they sell it in India as well. But you're right, in terms of, I suppose in, American households are probably a little less cluttered, I would say, and a little, compared to ours. And also maybe in India, I don't know how much, people are willing to pay 25,000-30,000 rupees for a vacuum cleaner. But having said that, I think what I saw that at least in COVID times, I heard a lot of my friends told me or asked me that, because of COVID, we don't have, our
maids and all that
coming in. Can you recommend us something? Do you have a robot or something? I recommended a lot of them to get a Roomba or something equivalent. And what I saw that people did use it for a few days, and then, but after that they were like, oh no, I have to clean it myself. Because the thing is that the robot technology, I would still say that, technology is also another thing that needs to sort of catch up in the sense that, so it will clean, maybe it will do 90% of the job, but then, maybe it has left a few bits here and there. And maybe in an Indian household, you don't like that. You really want everything to be, spick and span. So I would say it's also about an expectation. I think when people look at a robot, they feel like, okay, this is just as good as any human and it will do everything, and I think it's also about that, like when we go and sell drones, people are like, oh, we've got this drone now, it's just gonna fly everywhere, do everything. And so I think it's also on us as well that we have to kind of get out it in the market, set the expectations right, that look, this is going to be something that assists you, just like a GPS. The GPS sometimes can take you on bad roads, but 70-80% of the time it gets you there. And this is how I think a lot of robots should be viewed right now. It's not like something has come up and it will solve everything, but it will definitely help you and you will be better off from where you are right now. And so
just this weekend, we had these guests from Hyderabad staying with us, and they had, I think their apartment complex had bought these robotic vacuum cleaners in bulk or something. They got it at a slightly lower price. They are very impressed. They're very impressed. I mean, they were very happy with their purchase. It's one of the slightly higher end ones, I think, that the one they bought. But
hopefully it's Roomba. I don't know.
So one thing to add on the Aakash, on the expectation side, in fact, we have. I tell my sales guys that if the customer has bought another robot, then that is the best customer to sell to, because then the customer's expectations are anchored to something real. The problem is if the customer has never bought a robot, that is the hardest to sell, because they expect the world to happen. It is like, so for instance, let's say I'm selling you a medicine which can do some stuff. If you expect that one tablet which can cure everything and then give you a forever life, that's the kind of expectation that people have oftentimes with robots. They should be doing solve all my problems. It cannot. So in fact, so that's why if some other company has already sold them a robot, it's much more easier. Then we can tell them about how this is better, faster, cheaper, or saying. But the expectation set for new customers is quite a harder thing.
Yeah, we're running out of time. I know. Just a few more minutes. There are multiple questions still pending, actually. But there's one quick one on this. Can you suggest any online course? Arjun is asking, any online courses in robotics that can be pursued?
So Coursera has a very good thing. So there's a whole robotics track. It has, I think, University of Pennsylvania has this thing. So they are pretty good. And then I also saw a couple of other universities offering this thing. So that might be, Coursera would be a bit more affordable over there. There are also top US universities which have their own online the master's programs now that is there, but that might be a bit more on the expensive scale.
Yeah, also look at MIT Open Courseware, it's free. And
Yeah, okay.
Courses there.
Shilpa, questions?
Yeah, we have some questions. Ashutosh Desai talks about, I think the precursor to the previous question, is there any scope for basic robotic solutions for home and societies besides the vacuum bot, maybe for assisting physically challenged people?
That's what Balaji was talking about. Yeah, I think they're trying to develop.
It is coming, so at least 3-4 years out. I would say it is so the underlying technologies are getting ready, so one is expectations, and also the homes, the disabled friendly homes and all those things. Once it is there, but not in the immediate next 1 to 2 years. There are many companies working on interesting prototypes and so on. Like
even in the US and all, not available yet.
Even in the US, so there are more at the early stage research stage, but nothing at a home use. So even in the US, the only type of home robot is a Roomba kind of a thing. So it is still there are concepts that are there, but making the price and technology affordable at that level is quite a complex problem.
Okay.
We have this question from Prasanna Shankar. Is there a good scope for setting up training centers for robotics in India?
Sure. This is something. So, for instance, drones are already fairly well established. So, probably for them, Aakash is saying, so the drone pilots and so on, that there might be robots still are only now coming up. So, compared to the drone industry, robots adoption is still smaller. The industrial robot side. So, if you are looking at on the automobile robots, that is a bit more mature. So you can have training centers if people who can work with the Fanucs or the Kukas and so on. It is there. But in terms of service robots, it is still still a niche. It would probably take 2-3 years for it to get large enough for coaching centers to have scale.
Yeah, just the point about drones. So the government has approved, I think, about a dozen centers that are approved for drone pilot training. And we've run one center on our own before this policy had come out, and we had trained about 120 drone pilots, because as I was saying, we just couldn't find drone pilots. So we trained on our own. We took them through a 3-month course. And a lot of them we hired, and then many of them went to our competitors. But overall, the good thing was that at least we had a pool of people whom we could hire. But yes, in drone space, definitely, I think there is what you have to do if you want to open a training center is that you have to tie up with one of these government-approved RTOs, regional training centers for drones. So you tie up with them, and in their partnership, you can open a drone training center. And I can tell you there are lots of jobs, lots of opportunities, and lots of students who are interested in taking up that. Yeah.
These pilots operate with like we do the remote. How do they operate it, or are there screens or something? How do they do it?
Well, so yes, they usually have a tab or sometimes even a mobile phone, and in some cases they might have a laptop.
Okay.
And to tell you the truth, most of the times the drones, just like normal aircrafts, they are running on autopilots.
Autopilot, really?
Yeah, most of the time.
And how long can they stay up?
So depending on the type of drone, most of the multicopters now, they're able to push it close to 1 hour with the helicopter type drones. And then the plane type drones can go up to 2 hours. And then there are these engine based drones that have a normal petrol engine. They can even go up to 7-8 hours.
Oh, wow.
But the standard drones, like the ones you see mostly in weddings and all, I think they usually go like 20 minutes or so.
Okay. I know we run out of time. Shilpa, any last questions?
No, nothing in the queue.
I'll just ask one from Soumya. There's a follow-up question from Soumya. She's a student. We have a robotics club at college and build various bots as part of our induction and post-induction projects. But many ideas remain as projects instead of products. So what do you suggest young minds to take these a step ahead? How do you take these ahead, these projects?
So this is this has been a thing for a long time. So the problem is, let's say you want to dig a well. The first 1 or 2 feet it's quite easier, like it's loose sand. And then the thing is that the real challenge comes when you're digging the next 5-10 feet. And most students give up, so that they dig the first 2 feet and then they go to the next thing and so on. So rather than 120 feet deep well, they create 10 pits of 2 feet deep. So this is a problem in general. Like we have all been through the same this thing. So that is the problem. Why from project to product it's just going deeper in the same segment. So you have to have the right team, and then that is looking at this thing for 1 to 2 years at the minimum, and then go deeper and being committed to it. I see a lot of students creating, for instance, cars there are multiple car competition essays and so on, and then right after the competition, just completely abruptly leave it and then move over. So if you have the commitment to go deeper, longer, and with the team, the projects can be converted to products. It is just being prepared for that years of grueling work to convert them.
Okay, great analogy. Wells.
Aakash, you wanted to add something?
Well, no, I was just saying that it's very rightly put. At the same time, sometimes in business, we know if you do cross that stage and make it a product, sometimes there are also places where you have to take a call. Okay, I've dig this well for 1 year, no water has come out. Maybe it's time to dig another. But I think what's important is that you must dig it for at least a year. Either you don't start it. If you start it, I think, full commitment is really needed. Otherwise, you will not know. Maybe you are just 1 foot away from the big pool of water and you never really made it. So, yeah.
Great. Fascinating area. Great discussion. And yeah, lots of questions we had. Thank you so much, Shilpa.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Balaji and Aakash. It was a really interactive session, and thank you for sharing your insights and your journey and the prospects for robotics in India. Wishing you the very best. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you, Shilpa, and thank you, Sujit. Thanks for having us here. Thanks, Balaji. Great interacting with you. Hopefully, we'll catch up.
Yeah, we'll catch up. And since if you were in Bedford and iRobot, I used to cross that thing every. I was in the nearby tech park in Waltham. So I used to cross